Hi, I'm John Mondor, and I'd like to talk to you about my senior capstone project, NationSim. NationSim is an educational simulation that places high school history students into the roles of world leaders. As such, they'll be in charge of allocating resources for their country, they'll be in charge of maintaining trade between their country and another, they'll be in charge of creating technologies that increase productivity within their nation, and they'll also be in charge of maintaining war.
The main goal of NationSim is to teach students not only the interactions that take place between nations, but also to model different government types to show the beneficial pieces of one government type versus the detrimental pieces of that government type. The way that this actually takes place is that students are broken up into 7 groups, each group representing a different country, and each country having an independent government type. Now, if you're the king of one nation, you'll have basically the end say in that nation, whereas if you are a part of a democratic nation, you'll have one out of however many group members you have say in your nation. This will model not only power structure within a nation, but also speed that will happen in government type and also the amount of freedom that its citizens might have. In order to meet these goals, students are asked to follow a turn structure. The first part of this structure is the immersion phase, where students become comfortable within their roles and within the system so that they can actually better follow the guidelines set before them. Once they become comfortable with these, they'll begin the interaction phase. Within the interaction phase, students are asked to get up, physically move around, create trade, create different relationships with other nations, and then return to their seats after about 10 minutes. Then the discussion phase begins. The discussion is held between group members, and depending on the government types, decisions will be finalized through a vote. If a democratic nation is voting, each nation member will have a say, whereas if it is more of a power structure such as a dictatorship, the dictator will be the final and only say within the system. After the votes are counted and finalized, students will begin the turn structure once again, reflecting on the decisions that were made with the turn before. After all turns are completed, they'll be asked to reflect finally and see if their goals and objectives were met. Let's take a look at this now within the system. What you're looking at now is the NationSim interface. This username will log us into the democratic nation of Joma. Once you're logged in, you'll see your nation's flag, a picture of your nation, and a reminder in the top right of what your government type is. Decisions that students will make will involve their population, which can be distributed in any way that they'd like in order to model whatever it is that their goals were that were set before them. Joma is a scientific nation, so they've got already a boost in scientists and in scientific study. Once we make these decisions, we send them to the agenda. Now, the scientists are an interesting piece of the population because they can be further managed in the scientific study. Whatever the scientists happen to be studying will make this oil becomes more productive. If you have more oil technologies, you can produce more oil with less oilers. In the Resources tab, you can see how much you have of a certain resource, how much you're getting of a certain resource each year, and how much is left over. In the market, students can post to this and it will be processed and seen on all screens. This will initiate the trading process. So, if we wanted to had an abundance of lumber, 700, but we needed extra food, we could post this to a market to initiate trade within other nations. And now I can see that in our market posts. I can actually make a trade by giving a certain amount of a certain resource to a country. I can also use my military and send a certain amount of troops to a country. I can manage my relationships by changing them to either an ally, a trading partner, or at war. And to do that, I will send it to the agenda just to show you an example. Then I can move to the agenda tab. The agenda tab is interesting and will be utilized mostly in the voting phase. As a democracy, each member of my group would have a say as to what's accepted and rejected. I can put accept on this one, reject on this one, and accept on this one, and submit it. The agenda will be processed and will be reflected in the next year, which is ended by the teacher. Once that's made, I'll be able to see the consequences of my decisions and make better decisions in the next future years.
Thanks for checking out my video. I hope you find NationSim to be as fun and exciting as I do.